thought it would look nice if I put a Wheel of Time wallpaper on the screen, but it just doesn't really show up. Wheel of Time, Eye of the World. As I had predicted last time, I have read like another insane chunk of this book. So, just to be clear, the first update that I did, I was on page 70. The second update I did, I was on page 230, and right now, I am on page 502. I can't put this thing down. This is like the most fun I've had reading fantasy since when I read through the Song of Ice and Fire series a few years ago. So, covering aspects of the plot, as roughly as I do. Since the last time I spoke, they had just arrived at Baerlon. I think I might have called it Balerion accidentally, but they arrived at Baerlon, and it was this massive wooden city, and they were like, this city's so big it could fit the whole distance that we just crossed in it. And I was like, damn, that's a big city. But then later on, they went to the next city, and they were like, this city was even bigger, and you could fit Baerlon in it. And I was like, this is getting a little bit weird now. This is just like a nesting egg of cities. But then they got up to the next one, which I think was Whitebridge, and they were like, it's about as big as the last one. And I'm like, okay, we've petered out now. But the descriptions are just so vivid, you know? These places feel so real and distinct. Like, that's the one thing that's really blowing my mind, is so far we've been to Ammonsfield, which is where the book starts, Baerlon, the wooden city, Shadar Logoth, which was like I guess I would call it like the Moria equivalent. Although I also want to say, like, the book is reaching this point where it's starting to just feel like dumb to compare it to Lord of the Rings. Like, the book started in this area where it was like, oh, I can kind of see some of the beats of Lord of the Rings happening here. But now it's reached a point where, like, even mentioning the comparison just feels weird, or it feels like very superficial. So it's like, oh, like in Lord of the Rings, there was a group of about 8 or 9 people, and then they split up into 3, and it's like, yeah, I guess, and they you know, had a big encounter in a scary haunted city. But it's like the way that everything plays out just feels so different, not just from characterization, which is a big aspect of it. These characters do not feel like directly analogous to any Lord of the Rings characters at all, but also the sort of tone of the threat that they're facing. So it's like, in Moria, they're fighting the Balrog, or they're escaping the Balrog. And in Shadar Logoth, they are, I think it was called the Marshadar. It was basically just like mist, like a fog that was alive, and it would come and suck your soul out of your face. And so characters were like, it almost reminded me of the Hunter-Seeker from Dune, because it was characters just kind of sneaking around, trying not to make too much noise to attract the attention of this thing that they can't fight. Like, it will just kill them. So you get it. I thought that was really terrifying, but also really unique, in a way that felt so distinct from Lord of the Rings that I think, like, now I'm 500 pages in, the comparisons feels firmly unnecessary now. This is its own thing. Now, if we want to talk about comparisons, I have one thing to say, which is, so I said before, I'm a big fan of A Song of Ice and Fire. Spoilers for A Song of Ice and Fire, because this is not something that comes up until, like, book 3, I think. Maybe book 2. But, the Starks are, like, bonded to their wolves, and so they can, like, see through the wolves in their sleep, or, like, they can have, like, an almost telepathic communication ability with the wolf, and it looks like that's a thing in this book, and I don't know if Martin took that from Jordan, or if they both took that from the same source originally. Like, they were both inspired by the same thing. They don't play out exactly the same, but it was just a weird similarity I was not expecting to run into. And I don't know what they call it yet, or where this is going at all. I think that's the thing that's really blowing my mind about this book is I have no idea where it's going. I don't know if it's going to have a satisfactory conclusion for like this installment, or if it's going to be one of those things where you really do have to read all 14 of it to get the whole story. I kind of hope it's the first one because I would like for it to have arcs that feel complete. That makes it lock into my head better. That was one of the things that I liked about A Song of Ice and Fire is like all 5 of those books feel like different books. They tell one story, but they're so easy to distinguish between, to me anyway. There's a cricket going off. I don't know if anybody can hear that. So I have one more thing to say, and this was sort of the moment where I realized, like, oh, this book has its teeth in me. So there's a character. His name is Tom Marilyn, and he's a Glee man, which is like a traveling performer. And he's just been hanging out. Like, it's been really unclear why he's been hanging out. And I've been slowly coming to the conclusion that I don't trust him. And then the characters confront him on that, and they go, why are you still hanging out? And he gives them, like, this whole sob story that's like, oh, here's my secret origin story of why I feel compelled to hang out. And they're like, damn, Tom, we're sorry we doubted you. And I'm feeling that, too. And then, like, spoilers, because, I mean, this is a vlog, I'm going through the book. Like, a page later, that guy dies. And they're like, no. And I was like, damn, I really misjudged this guy. And then, like, an hour later, I was just sitting there and I was thinking, there's some fishy shenanigans going on with that death. I don't know if that death was real. He might have orchestrated that. I'm in this weird position right now where I kind of like this character, but I don't trust him. And he might be dead right now, and I still don't trust him, and I feel like a jerk about that. So any book that's got me, like, running in circles logistically like that, like, that's a good story. I have one minor complaint, but it's also, I think that it's been handling it well, so it's more like, oh, this wasn't what I wanted, but you don't always need to do what the audience wants. You need to do what the story commands, or demands. So, like I said before, we got this, the Fellowship. We got the Emond's Fielders, which is the 4 kids, and then the Knave shows up. We got Tom Marilyn, the Aes Sedai, and the Warder. So yeah, it's like 8 people cruising around. And then they get separated at Shadar Logoth. And suddenly the book is split into like 3 concurrent plots of characters that are trying to get back together, but they keep just missing each other, and stuff just keeps happening. And I need to stress, the book has continued to be excellent in these chapters, but I'm just sitting here like, I miss the relationship dynamic of all 8 of them. And it feels really weird having them all separated and going down these different paths. And I don't hate it, but there's like this fear in my heart that we're not going to get back to what we had. And I guess that's effective. You know, that's an effective thing to give and then take away. But damn, it's got me stressed. So I think the next vlog that I do will be like the wrap up. I got like 20 chapters left, I think 300 pages. So I'll just plow through the whole thing and then give you like a proper review of The Eye of the World. Right now I can't see what could possibly change my mind on this book. Unless, like I said before, where it doesn't really like resolve the arcs of this book, and it just says like, well, see you next time, which will leave me with a bad taste in my mouth, but I won't be too mad because I'm gonna go read that book. So that's all for now. I'm probably gonna do another lightning round soon, although I think I might approach those as like short videos where I just do each one quickly. But that's gonna be all for today. Everybody take it easy. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, at Gamma Ray Garrett. One word, 2 R's, 2 T's. Have a good day. Or night.